All right, what's up, guys? How we doing? I just saw A24's newest horror film, Heretic. Let's talk. So when two young religious women get caught in a cat and mouse game with this strange old man in his house, they start to question their lives and everything that they believe in. And this movie is written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Most recently have done 65 last year with Adam Driver. Not really a fan of that movie, but most notably, they are known for pretty much creating the whole A Quiet Place universe. They both wrote the first one. And it stars Hugh Grants, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East. So, A24 films, specifically horror, they're pretty out there, They got the rep of being known as elevated horror with movies like, Hereditary, Midsommar, The Witch, The Green Knight, all these movies are known for being that elevated, kind of pretentious. So whenever they have a new one coming out, you're always kind of just like on your toes wondering like what are they going to do this time? Like how crazy is it going to be? How stylish and all these things are running through your mind. And the fact that they're tackling religion in this movie specifically also just kind of intrigues you just a little bit more, especially from the trailers, there's a lot going on. So you basically just have two young Mormon missionary girls played by Sophie Thatcher and Chloe East, and they're part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they're going around, trying to spread word of, Mormonism and everything they believe in and all this. And they stumbled upon this house. I think a lot of the people that they go to like requested some sort of service or like further knowledge. So they end up at this house, and it's Hugh Grant's house. He opens up the door. He seems all nice. He seems, like an old man, like very polite, very well-mannered. And so he invites him into his house because he did request to learn more knowledge about the church. So he tricks the girls by saying that, he has a wife, lying to them. She's making blueberry pie. And so that's the only way they can enter the house. So they enter and they start talking about religion, not only just Mormonism, but just religion in general and what it does to the world and how it affects the world. And they probably taught just in this scene, for probably 10, 20 minutes. And it's very interesting. They're going back and forth. They're battling each other. The dialogue, the script in this specific part, a lot of the movie, but just this first, kind of banter back and forth is very smart. It's very well written. It keeps you engaged for all the whole time, they're just talking, dialogue, back and forth, questioning each other, well, why is it like this then? Well, do you like fast food? Just kind of making all these metaphors, and it's very, very interesting. And it almost feels like he's trying to make them question their own faith to some degree with everything that he's saying. I mean, it's very smart. It's thought-provoking. A lot of it made sense. But these girls will not budge. They're standing their ground for most part. One specifically, played by Sophie Thatcher's character, Sister Barnes, she has some sort of past that kind of... She wasn't born Mormon, so she has something that went on in her life that converted her. She's a converted Mormon. And she's going head-to-head with him, battle for battle. And Chloe East, Sister Paxton, is kind of just more reserved, kind of trying to think more, or like she's kind of shy to tell, how she really feels or thinks. And this movie I can see as being very divisive. If you're religious, if you're a Christian, especially if you're Mormon, they don't necessarily shit on it, but they're putting out a lot of good points and a lot of good ideas, like I said, that, you could either come out saying, this movie's bullshit, what the fuck are they talking about? Or maybe you can kind of start to, question religion as a whole. A lot of people are going to hate this, and I think that, A24 is pretty bold for putting this out there, just the script itself. But as the movie goes on, I do think it does do a good job at portraying both sides, basically atheists versus a religious person. It gives both sides, kind of equal time in the end. And, the writers aren't here to tell you, fuck this side or fuck that side, That's where the script is very smartly balanced in the fact that, like I said, by the time you leave the theater, whether or not you're diehard religion or an atheist, your side was given a spotlight. And they easily could have gone one way or another on either side of the spectrum, but they didn't. And I appreciated that. I think a lot of people should and will as well. And when they first enter the house to, towards more of the end of the movie. I do kind of have a problem with the ending, but just that end of the first act to like basically the middle of the third act, it's just constantly building tension, just constantly through the dialogue. They start to go deeper into his house. It's just that one room at first, and then they go down a hallway, and it's all so scary. There's a basement that they eventually go to. There's 2 doors like in the trailer, belief, disbelief. They start to explore more of this house, and it's just constant tension because it's this grown man, who's basically trapping these 2 young girls in his house, with no way to escape. He says the front door is locked until morning. That's the way he programmed it or something. And the only way out is downstairs through the back. Like, it's just all terrifying. I'm not a female, but even being who I am right now, and I was in that house with just, let's say, my other buddy, I don't care how big he is, I would be fucking scared to death. It's very unsettling, and it just does nothing but build on that constant tension, scene after scene. It's just building, building, building. And Hugh Grant does an amazing job. He's never really done a role like this. I think the last movie that he did that I saw him in was Wonka last year. He plays an Oompa Loompa. I mean, he's in Paddington. He plays a lot of different characters, but I've never seen him be someone like someone maniacal like this and just crazy and a villain, really. He's just a creepy dude with a lot of weird shit in his house, too. Like, it's a scary fucking house. And, I would say about 70 to 80% of this movie is just Hugh Grant himself talking, explaining, kind of questioning everything, questioning the girls, and, using metaphors and all this stuff. There's a cool metaphor where, it involves the game of Monopoly. And those scenes are just all written so well. It's all so thought-provoking. And once they get to his basement, it kind of loses a little bit of steam. It's not necessarily him, questioning them or anything. He's kind of starting to test them with certain things that aren't as interesting. And, this is when they really try to start to escape and, try to take control of their lives. Especially Chloe East's sister, Paxton. She, like I said, has been shy, kind of afraid to, talk back to Hugh Grant, to kind of, battle back and stand up for herself and her religion and what she believes in. This is when she's kind of just like, fuck it, I need to fight back. And the whole rest of the movie is pretty much her taking over that role. She's had enough, and she starts to play his game. Like I said, this movie has a lot of interesting ideas just, throughout the movie. But there was one direction that they were going to kind of go, and I was like, I kind of like this. This is interesting. Like, it's very trippy and like very out there. But I was like, okay, if this is real, then I'm with it. I'm down with it. It doesn't end up being real, but it does keep you on your toes in just all the different directions that it does go and can go. And there's also a small surprise cameo from Topher Grace. The last scene that he was in, like, is when you actually can tell that it is him, because at first he's just playing the priest from one of their churches, and he has like almost like gray hair, glasses. You can't really tell it's him at all. And then there's one last scene, and you're like, no fucking way. Is that Topher Grace? So I enjoyed seeing him. I do wish he was in the movie a little bit more. That would have been pretty cool. He's in like 2 or 3, maybe 4 scenes, but he really gets nothing to do. And with this being an A24 film and the reputation that they have, this ending is a little lackluster, and I was hoping that it wouldn't be. I was hoping that maybe there was, there's a couple twists and turns. Like I said, they go in different directions, but the ending is just, it's a little basic and kind of predictable in some sort of way. They don't try to break new ground or anything. It's just kind of like, eh. But, I still really enjoyed this movie. It's creepy. It's unsettling. Hugh Grant gives an absolutely amazing performance in being against the typecast that he usually is. The 2 girls in it are fantastic as well. The script is sharp. The dialogue is firing on all cylinders when relating to the themes of religion and Mormonism and just questioning everything. It's a very smart movie, and I definitely recommend watching it if you're a horror fan, especially if you're an A24 horror fan. But this movie did come out probably 3 weeks ago by the time this is coming out, so it'll probably be streaming pretty soon, I would assume. So you can probably wait. I don't even know if it's still playing just because of how independent it is. But check it out if you get a chance, guys. Those are just my thoughts. I'll probably give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want. My name is Zach, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.